Australian supercars are no stranger to street courses. The series has long visited various city circuits down under. But in the real world, they've yet to show up on the beaches of California. Today, our drivers will take that Aussie flavor to the Cali sun in more ways than one as we get ready to watch Six Drink Saturday, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Cameron Dance. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Long Beach is a familiar name to any Formula One or IndyCar fan, but for those who follow touring cars, this might be slightly new territory. Let's head to our track guide to learn a little bit more about it. Welcome to Long Beach. Nestled into the south side of Los Angeles and running alongside the Pacific Ocean, this street circuit has made the port area world famous. Both Formula One and IndyCar have called this 2-mile, 11-turn circuit home. Winning here has become a prestige worth boasting about among open-wheel pilots. Indeed, the winners list includes the likes of Lauda, Andretti, Unser, Montoya, Power, and many other legendary names in racing. Much like its European sister over in Monaco, it's short, tight, and punishing. But unlike Monte Carlo, this circuit emerged from a rundown piece of California coast to grow into the glamorous location it is today. Down into Turn 1 at the end of Shoreline Drive is where the majority of overtakes tend to be made. But sneaky passes can also pop up in places like 6 on the way into Pine Avenue, or Turn 9 at the end of Seaside Way. There's also 2 distinctive landmarks notorious for causing track blockages. The fountain section, with all its beauty, is a single-file affair save for the first lap. And the hairpin has been a staple here, even though it's changed locations a few times. In fact, that last hairpin not only includes the dangers of getting tangled with another car, but the important nature of getting the best exit you can to keep your rival from having a chance to pass you into the first corner. It feels appropriate that California's signature street track is a hop, skip, and a jump away from the beach. But while others might be trying to attack the surf, our drivers today will be attacking the corners instead. We've got a number of races here this weekend to kick off the season, but Cam, this one's going to be a little bit different with these style of cars here.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's going to be a very, very fascinating race today, and I'm pretty sure this is actually the first ever broadcast with the V8s around here, so it's going to be very, very fascinating to see what sort of race I'm going to see and what these machines are going to stack up like against the street circuit.
You see a few details there on screen about the track itself, but let's give you a few details about our sponsors as well. Of course, starting out with Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And then there's Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And then there's Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out at centuryretire.com. And details about the race itself, though, let's take a look at that graphic. We are in the V8 supercar, although now they're just the Australian supercars. And it is a 60-minute race today. Now, there's the important detail there on the fourth line. They must drink 6 12-ounce beverages since we have switched this to Six Drink Saturday, and it's a 20-minute longer race than what we normally have. It is fixed setup, so at least they don't have to worry about that aspect. It's all about what you're doing in the car, and some of that will include, for at least most of the drivers, a little bit of drinking. We've got 4 minutes left here in the open qualifying that we've got, Cam. We've only got 2 more of the 7 drivers to put a time in. And you said, you know, this might be the first broadcast that anybody's done with these supercars at Long Beach. I mean, what do you anticipate being the biggest challenges for these machines here?
And it's kind of hard to tell because there's actually many and multiple in this sort of car because of the fact that you've got that lock differential getting on the power a lot of a struggle, and then you've also got the nature of the car that it doesn't turn very well, and that hairpin is going to be one of the very many challenges that these drivers are going to face, because the thing does have limited locks, so getting around that hairpin is going to be quite a challenge for these vehicles, especially if you run ever so slightly deep. So yeah, it's really going to be quite fascinating to see what happens, and who we're going to end up seeing in the wall in the end.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a few, especially once they get some drinks into them. And a few details on that for those who haven't watched. Normally it's 4-drink Friday. It's 6-drink Saturday. Well, because yesterday was Christmas and we need a little bit of break here. But so essentially they have to drink those 6 12-ounce beverages over the course of the race. They can drink them at any time that they please, but they play it safe here. You cannot drink and drive. Well, they're obviously not literally driving real cars, but they can't actually be driving on the track here in the sim. So they have to pull over to the side to a complete halt and take a drink. They can do part of the drink if they want. They can do multiple drinks. It's however they deem. They just have to finish all 6 of them by the end of this hour race. And we've seen all different sorts of strategies for that sort of thing. I know you're technically a Kiwi here, Cam, but over here in the States, our inclination about Australian beer tends to be Foster's. Is there a different brand that's actually the real Australian drink of choice?
It's hard to tell. I've actually not really looked into a lot of Australian beer, but Foster's, I'd say, is probably at least one. Apparently, it's not the most favourite, but I'd say there's at least 4X Gold that's probably more synonymous, and also Cooper's Mild as well. That's more synonymous with the likes of even these supercars where you find it around the track at Bathurst. So it's, yeah, one of those sort of things that I haven't really delved into, but certainly they don't all taste that great from what I've been told.
Like I've said on the broadcast before, I'm more of a cider man myself than beer per se. As Michael Bolton comes down to turn 9, getting ready to put another lap in here. Right now he's 5th and about 1.5 seconds off of our pole, which belongs to Nico Silva. Now you might see that our timing scoring looks a little bit odd. He does have, you will see in some of the graphics, a DD next to his name. Now that is for drivers who either do not wish to or cannot, because we have some under 21, cannot drink. So they are basically allowed to compete, but they have to take a certain amount of pit stops that will equate to what their 6 drinks normally would, at least by their estimations. So it keeps things fair, although they'll have probably a little bit more control of their faculties by the end of the race themselves. Silva certainly trying to make good on that advantage by starting out on the front with actually less than 1/10 over BJ Fulton. So that's quite tight.
Yeah, actually, it's very, very close indeed between those top 2, and then you've obviously got that bit of a bigger gap back to P3 and then everybody else. And obviously, no surprise there with these cars being quite difficult as they are to drive. So the spread being not really much of a surprise, but it certainly does make it quite interesting. And that pit entry is going to be quite interesting as well, with how tight it is and how much of a surprise it is when it comes up on you too.
Yeah, lap traffic, even though we've got not that many cars, could play a factor itself. But our qualifying is over, so let's go through that starting grid. I'll cover off the first half here with Nico Silva starting on the pole. BJ Fulton will be in P2. You've got Dylan Campbell starting in the 3rd spot, and Matthew Hollander will be starting in P4.
And you have Michael Bolton starting at P5, followed by Aaron Edwards in at 6, and then rounding out the 7-car field will be Mark Rondeau.
Now, I do believe they are able to finish a hot lap out here, but I'm not seeing, in fact, I'm only seeing one driver that is currently out there running. And I think Nico Silva just exited pit lane, so I don't think any of them will actually be able to improve from here. As you can see them coming down that pit lane, which costs them quite a bit of time. So they really don't want to be making any more visits than they need to around here. Wonder if we'll get anybody maybe trying some eggnog and rum out there in honor of the holidays happening so close to today's event. Or maybe we should ask our director, since he's now a Californian, what the Californian drink should be. He says tequila. That sounds about right. This is in Los Angeles, so Which I guess is another rule we should bring up. They are allowed to do shots. However, they have to drink 12 ounces of water along with that. So you can't just speed yourself up by taking a quick drink of liquor and trying to save yourself time in that sense.
Yeah, that's a lot of water, I must admit, to consume as well with a shot. So that's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens and who's going to do what strategy. But who knows? It's going to be really a matter of waiting and seeing. And with it being 60 minutes, it's actually quite a long period of time to actually end up getting all six into you. So it's probably actually not a terrible thing to have the race being so long and have to worry about downing them in 40 minutes.
I can tell you that I would have probably quite a bit of trouble getting 6 done in an hour's time. But like I keep saying, I'm a lightweight, and we're going to get a standing start, as is tradition here with the supercars. Silva already out on the grid while we're waiting for the last few to plop the car at the start. Hopefully we can get through the fountain section, Cam, without things getting plugged up on the track.
Yeah, certainly. Hopefully we can. They all made it through on qualifying, so I'm going to have my fingers crossed, and I'm going to say we're hopefully going to make it. I think the biggest worry is going to be the standing start more than anything else.
That's true. Yeah, who is going to be able to really get that foot down without spinning the wheels too much or even sending the car into the wall before they make it a few feet? As just got a couple more. Looks like Hollander, Fulton, and Campbell, the last ones that we are waiting on, as our blimp is certainly having a lot of fun zimming around there in the sky here today. Now we're getting the last few on the track. Fulton's got himself out there, Campbell as well, but we've lost Edwards, I think. He's maybe decided to start from pit lane. In fact, he has. His green flag is already out. So far, pretty decent for some of the drivers. A little bit of wheel spin amongst a few of them. Nico Silva starting to lose the lead as BJ Fulton edges ahead around the outside, streaming down into turn 1. Behind them, up into third. Looks like Dylan Campbell has an opportunity to get that away. Oh, and Nico Silva struggling on the cold tires to put the power down. BJ Fulton going to sneak the lead away.
Yeah, very, very costly mistake there by Nico to end up running a little bit deep, and now BJ is going to have the race lead. Campbell's not too far behind, so it could be a little bit of a dark horse in this little battle here, but certainly has not been the greatest of starts for Silva, but he's going to at least be in the top 2 for now.
Heading on to Pine Avenue, a little deep for BJ Fulton. Nico Silva closes right back up on the rear bumper, and they take it onto Oceanside Way. Gets a good exit. Silva still stalking, hoping he can get that lead back to lead this first lap despite losing from the pole. And as he closes in on the braking zone, looks like it's not quite there. So heading up to the hairpin for the first time, what is this going to look like?
Yeah, it's going to be very, very tight and very, very interesting. 3 have made it through so far. We're about to get everybody else through as well. So they've all made it, so that's at least a start there. But I don't think that's going to last too long as the race progresses on.
Also a heads up, Aaron Edwards started from pit lane. He is now on his way. We don't see Matthew Hollander, so he appears to have abandoned the start of this race. Unfortunately, we're down to 6 and into the first corner for the second time. Our first one falling victim to the tire barrier was Dylan Campbell in the background.
Yeah, and Bolton even clipped it as well, and I'm pretty sure Rondo even followed him in as well.
Let's watch the replay as they come down into the corner and just overcooks it, and behind it there's a second and there's a third. So yeah, you're right, only the first 2 drivers appear to have successfully navigated that one, and we'll have to wait and see if Aaron Edwards does.
Yeah, they certainly will have to wait a little bit of time till he gets to that point. He's only just come out of the hairpin now, so he's quite a ways behind by the looks of it, so he's got quite some time to get to that point. But certainly it's been a case of he's in the fence, they're both in the fence, and they're all in the fence.
Oh, and for some reason Dylan Campbell is very slow. Let's see. Oh, and you know what? I think he's taking his first drink. Indeed. There you see him pulling off to the side, so no dramas there. This looks to be a scheduled stop, if you will. And as I mentioned before, Cam, they can take more than one drink at a time.
Yeah, they certainly can. We've seen it before where they've stopped and taken about 3 or 4 at a time sometimes. So it's certainly not a bad strategy around, especially around a street circuit where everybody's kind of bouncing off the walls around you, to stop and decide to get into possibly some clean air.
Yeah, in fact, he falls down to fifth, and he's gotten going. So looks like he's had his fill. Meanwhile, up at the front, we're still watching as Fulton continues to lock him up here and there and goes a little wide out of turn 5. Nico Silva just giving watch. At some point, though, I do believe Fulton will have to stop and take his drinks, even if Nico does not. And you talked about that clear air. Wonder if that's what Nico's staying patient for here.
Yeah, he could very well be staying patient here, although he's looking very, very close and looking very, very racy at this point. He's looking to the inside, but he's not going to get a move done by the end. Oh, and they're both in the fence.
Just nudges his compatriot into the wall. They both are able to keep it going. Just a little bit of a tap, and Fulton's actually going to retain the lead, but he goes wide, and he's going to bounce off the hairpin tire barriers. So Silva has it easily down the front stretch and starting lap 4, back up to the front.
Yeah, certainly. And BJ's decided to take a drink by the looks of it. Since he's sitting still at the hairpins, so not a bad ploy there considering he's bounced off the wall there. But Nico's going to need to try and push on here and use that clean air that he's got to now try and build a gap so that he doesn't lose time in the pit stop.
I wonder, and I do believe Aaron Edwards, with his starting from pit lane, I think he may have taken at least one of his drinks. Still waiting on Fulton to get going, so he might be taking multiples here. This is quite a while. In fact, he might get lapped if he keeps going for much longer. Dylan Campbell is going to get by him. Now he is off and on his way. So the Star Wars themed car gets ready to start his lap 4. He will return in P4.
Yeah, certainly. Aaron Edwards isn't actually too far behind them either, so he's been sitting there for quite some time and is down probably at least 2, possibly 3, depending on how good he is at it. But certainly at the front of the field, it's still quite busy.
Had a little bit of trouble there heading into the first corner, so maybe already feeling the effects. Had a small bounce off the wall, but keeps it going. And Nico Silva is in for his first pit stop.
Yeah, so quite early, but probably not a silly idea either. And he's still got plenty of time back to the next car behind of Dylan Campbell, who's only just coming through back into the circuit. So it's got quite a gap back to everybody else at the moment.
Does look like we're still waiting on Bolton, who's now inherited the lead, to take his first drinks. In fact, he's got quite a lead over Dylan Campbell, who's going to be the next one. No, in fact, Nico Silva will return in second place. Dylan Campbell won't be able to overtake him. Campbell just now coming onto the front stretch. There's Bolton, our new leader in the Rockstar Energy car. In fact, he's coming onto Oceanside Way. Very early days in this race with 53 minutes left to go. Have to wonder which drivers are going to elect to pace themselves, which will try and get them all done as early as possible, and who's going to maybe try and chug at the end to see if they can save themselves some skill through most of the race. Mark Rondeau, in the meantime, you can see, has got himself sideways and then backs into the path of our leader.
That was probably not the best rejoin I've seen, in my opinion, but at least there's no damage, because that certainly would have been a sad-looking Mustang for both drivers if there was.
Yeah, both cars able to get going once again. Dylan Campbell's halted, so another bit of drinking for him. So this makes at least 2 stops, though we're not sure if it is 2 drinks or more than that. And Nico Silva is into pit lane once again.
Yeah, so deciding to get 2 stops at least out of the way early, which is probably not a dumb maneuver, especially with the gap that he's got back to those behind him. So interesting to see where he's going to come out in relation to Michael Bolton. He's quite a ways up the road now and is probably about 3/4 of a lap ahead now.
Bolton continues on in the lead, and that's actually a lap on everybody now as Fulton and Bolton have gone by. So you see him ahead of Silver. No, excuse me, that is taken for position. That's Fulton up into P2. Only thing that disappoints me is nobody has arrived with a Mad Max themed livery on their car. I'm slightly disappointed as they go side by side down onto the turn into Pine Avenue, wheel to wheel, nearly banging doors. Fulton has the inside, but he gets pinched. He can't get the exit off the corner. Still looking to see if he can get this spot back. Nico Silva this time has the reverse as it switches back to the right side. Silva has to give it up. Fulton will retain P2.
He didn't quite get the drive off the corner that he probably will have hoped for, did Silva, so he's going to have to sit station behind. Oh, and that's a brush with the wall there for Fulton, but it's going to keep on going straight, so he's going to have to sit station for a little bit, is Silva, and wondering if he's going to possibly take a pit stop here just to try and get back into some clean air. We'll have to wait and see, and he does decide to come back down.
Boy, he really got on the throttle, spun up those rear tires. So looks like he is, in fact, going to try and get everything out of the way at the very start of this race, and then see if he can just book it to the checkered flag and hope that his pace is enough to compete with those who are taking drinks. Have we seen Bolton get one yet? I'm looking, and no, our scoring sheet, if you will, does not show any for him yet.
Yeah, so he's still got to at least get one in him at some stage. Still plenty of time to do it, so we'll have to wait and see when he decides to do it, and whether he's going to do it all in one go, whether he's going to pace himself a little bit. But certainly it's been a little bit of time since we've started this race, and he's not yet done one. So I'd say there's probably going to be multiples consumed in this first go.
And Fulton has figured out how to stop at the side of the road in style. The 277 has somehow spun himself around. I think this is out of turn 6, yeah. And that's not the correct way to be facing on the track, and the tire marks tell the tale as he takes another sip as Silva goes by. And nearly comes back in front of Dylan Campbell.
And that's with position as well. So Campbell's gained a position over Fulton there, and he's going to be now in what is the podium effectively, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. And bearing in mind, one of them has consumed more than the other as well, so that's going to play a little bit of a factor come at the end of this race.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the cars are already enough to make you look like you're drunk. As, whoa, who was that coming out of the hairpin? That was Dylan Campbell. And that was definitely intentional. That was not a mistake on his part. He's pulling over to the side, getting another drink in. And that was a mistake, though, from Aaron Edwards, who has decided to make the best of it with a nice little donut. He'll pull off out of the hairpin, out of harm's way. They do have to try and find a safe space to pull off the racing line when they take a drink. There's the first of Bolton's drinks. And actually, I'm seeing, it looks like he has marked 2 of them there.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, but we'll have to wait and see whether he stops for a little bit longer in his other quote-unquote pit stops.
Yeah, he's still got, it looks like a whole minute ahead of Nico Silva, if I'm seeing this correctly. Might take actually a little bit for Silva's time in scoring to catch up to him. Bolton, as you can see, coming from turn 5 right now. Back on the shoreline, the reverse toward pit lane. And then we'll veer off into Pine Avenue. Yeah, it's okay. Now the time is starting to come down. It's about 41 seconds I'm seeing between P1 and P2 after 13 minutes gone in today's race. We've got 3 drivers left on the lead lap: Dylan Campbell, Aaron Edwards, and Mark Rondeau. Currently a lap down. As you can tell, that might switch around frequently over the course of this race.
It certainly is going to be quite fascinating to see how this is all going to play out in the end, especially for those who are yet to have drunk many or
Woo!
haven't stunk any, but certainly is getting very, very crossed up there is Nico.
Yeah, boy, driving it with some stank in it. And he's going to do it again, lighting up the rears. I can't imagine he could get away with that too much before those things just turn to butter.
Yeah, they certainly do actually wear out quite quick and get hot quick as well. And it's one of the challenges of this car as well is that the tires do wear out extremely quickly. It's something that you do kind of have to bear in mind is that if you're going to try and drive this thing hard, you've actually really got to look after the tires, which clearly Nico isn't doing very well, but he's at least having some fun trying out there.
Let's see if he's going to tear him up, coming off the hairpin as well. But this time he stays out. Pushes to see if he can start to run down Michael Bolton. He's got about 10 seconds over BJ Fulton, the driver in second place. That's just about most of the front stretch between the pair of them. Similar distance between Dylan Campbell and Aaron Edwards. That's for P4 and P3. Let me count up. I wonder how many Dylan Campbell's done, because I know he seems to have done quite a few.
Yeah, I think he's up to his third or fourth now, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, so he's done quite a few now, and we're only probably about not quite a quarter into this race. So he's quite ahead of himself, and he's actually probably in a good position for the end of this race when everybody else starts to really down them.
Yeah, I think this is number 4 right here that we see him halted for. So you're right. He's basically just got to work on the racing itself from there on out. That behind him is Mark Rondeau, taking one of his. That is 1, 2, and I think this is the third for Mark Rondeau in the meantime.
Yeah, so clearly people are deciding to get it out of the way as quickly as they possibly can, which is probably not a silly idea, and it's actually, in some respects, I think it's actually probably the smartest option, because then you get that whole rest of the race to kind of sober yourself up by driving the car as hard as you possibly can and sweat it all out.
I was just going to say, it makes me think of the Mythbusters episode where I believe they found out that exercise helps you sober up the quickest. Silva, in the meantime, fully sober through pit lane for another one of his, I guess you could call them penalty drive-throughs. Right lane must turn right. Well, he's going to turn left here into the fountain section as he exits out of the pit lane. So what does that cost him to BJ Fulton? Waiting for the time and scoring on that to also pick up between the pair of them. Looks like it is up to 20 seconds, I think, between himself and second place. About a full minute and some change behind Michael Bolton. Actually, kind of close to being lapped.
Yeah, he actually is quite close to being lapped at this current rate. Although that said, Bolton still needs to have a few more drinks as well to catch back up with everybody else. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here. But he's certainly going to be part for quite some time as Bolton in the not too distant future.
There you see our leader, California driver, on his home track, and BJ Fulton has spun it out of the hairpin. He's going to face backwards once again while he takes a drink. Now, that actually might take a good spin turn for him to get going the right way. It's kind of narrow coming out of that hairpin.
Yeah, it certainly is, and he's also going to have the other problem of oncoming traffic, possibly. He's managed to spin it back around in style and not have any traffic to deal with, so he's back and going. He's going to be on his way, and a nice little gap to everybody else around him.
That was his fourth, if I'm seeing correctly. BJ Fulton should be pretty close to finishing up those drinks then soon. Much like we saw with Dylan Campbell, who currently runs in 6th. So he's put himself somewhat in the hole. He's got much of the race to try and make it back up naturally. So watch them continue to circulate here around to one of the latest tracks to be added here on the iRacing service. Not only is this one not necessarily as familiar to our drivers, this car not super familiar in itself. And the combination on top of it is an unusual one, which they tend to do in this series. They try to go for the fun factor and difficulty factor on top of everything. Down Oceanside Way, and BJ Fulton, taking a lot of liberties with the inside of the track there. I imagine he should get a slowdown penalty for that.
Yeah, I think you might be right. It should be a slowdown. And if he hasn't got one, I'll be very, very surprised, because that was a lot of inside curve that he's used there.
Meanwhile, we got a pass for position potentially. Mark Rondeau is being challenged by Dylan Campbell. This is for a top 5. There you see Campbell in the gray machine. The red is Mark Rondeau. The sweeper of the front stretch. Got to get the car off to the right, hitting the brakes hard down into the first turn. Rondeau and Campbell taking it nice and smoothly. Dylan's going to have to work harder than that, it seems, to overtake the number 5. And a little bit of mistake from the red number 5. So he has to go defensive into turn 4 and just parks it on the apex. Dylan can't do much with it.
Yeah, he can't quite on those. He's still not quite going to get the exit that he probably wanted, but that was very, very close for Rondeau to end up in the wall at the hit fountain section and nearly ended up with a little bit of a track blockage.
Well,
that'll
do it. And he finally loses it. Is he going to take a drink? Yep, he's just going to make use of the time and sit off to the side, take another alcoholic beverage, and then he'll get going. So that puts him down into 6th place. Where is Bolton right now? Is he taking a drink since we last saw? I don't think so. No, it doesn't look like he has done one recently. Also, woo! Wow, all kinds of sideways for a long time. Coming out of the final corner, but he still keeps it pointed forward and moving. And the driver certainly using up a lot of tire with that exit.
They even put gear in the process of getting that wheel spin under control, did Bolton, and he's managed to come away with a very, very nice set of licorice sticks out of that hairpin. But it's certainly not the way that you want to be managing those rear tyres, that's for sure. But he's certainly not doing too bad of a job being out front. Obviously still has to get a few into him, but he's at least using the time wisely to build a little bit of a gap compared to everybody else.
So far, Nico Silva has chopped down some of that gap to about a minute 4. It was a minute 9 seconds when he came out of the pits. So our second place driver chipping away the time that he has left. One thing we do want to note that we do wish for everybody to both drink responsibly and drive responsibly too. That this is a video game and this is a simulator, so we encourage you, if you are going to drink and drive, keep it on the simulator, please, as these guys are doing here today. I can report that Nico Silva's in pit lane again. Now, I'm not sure if this is his last one. I don't have the numbers with me to see what is the official number of times he has to run down here. I have to imagine this has got to be close to the amount that he's got to do.
Yeah, I'd say it would be close to, if not far off, what he's got to do. And Bolton's actually decided to park it up and take a swig, so he is downing another one by the looks of it, and he's going to start to catch up with everybody else, but is, I'd say, probably going to be parked for quite some time to catch up, because this would be, in theory, his second stopping, but we'll see what happens.
Boy, he's sitting for a long time. Now he gets going. This is helpful for both Silva and BJ Fulton, because BJ moves back into second place past Nico with that last drive-through from the number 28. There you see our overall leader down into the first corner once again.
Yeah, so Bolton's now up to 4, so he's in the same window effectively as everybody else, and how many he has to get into him from here on out. And still, everybody seems to have decided that the early approach is the way to go.
These guys can probably all hold their alcohol a little bit better than I can. I will probably try and do it later, just space these things out as best I can, just to see if I can make it, as Bolton definitely wheeling this thing and not taking it lightly. Just ahead of him, that is Aaron Edwards. It's the last car on the lead lap there in the number 2 machine, sitting in 4th place. Now, how many has Aaron Edwards actually had? Double check, because, yeah, okay, so he's had a few along here, and he was the one that started from pit lane, and he's going to take another one. Is he? Yes, there he goes. Okay, now he's come to a halt. So there goes another one for Edwards.
I believe this is his 5th drink, 4th or 5th, I can't quite remember, but it is nearing the end of what he has to consume.
It looks like I'm counting number 4. They've mercifully instituted a policy where drivers are asked to enter it into the text chat when they take a drink, so that kind of helps us behind the booth. And there goes Rondo, still our driver in last place. Coming down, he's unfortunately about a minute behind Dylan Campbell currently, who is the next car up the road. So it's on the same lap, but he's got a lot of work to do to even get one position. Silva's still circulating. Doesn't come in this time. Aaron Edwards, and did he take a drink or did he just... Nope, he looks like he actually just made a mistake. I don't think this was a drink. And in turn 1, overcooked it. Let's take a look at the replay, see if we can analyze it ourselves. Move down into turn 1. Car coming in very hot, a little too hot. Locks it up. Didn't even touch the wall though. Backs it up. And eventually, there he goes. Now he's on his way. Sort of on his way.
And he's actually towed back to pit lane because he's actually ended up stuck in the wall a few corners later. That's not gone particularly well for him, unfortunately.
Well, that is good news for Rondo, who's just passed him on track, moves himself up to 5th position. Not sure what happened to Edwards, because they, I believe they have, they have unlimited free repairs. So maybe he's just waiting for that tow to finish up before he's able to get out there. Our leader, Michael Bolton, now ahead of BJ Fulton by 32 seconds after Michael's latest stop. We're almost at halfway in this race. Here's Silva. Silva continues to gain quite a bit of time here. Oh, and he's just behind a spinner. That's Dylan Campbell, who's looped it coming out of the fountain. There you can see the smoke, the telltale smoke, as he has to once again get it turned over and running.
Yeah, certainly sending some smoke signals on the exit, just a little bit too eager, and straight into the concrete wall as a result of it ending up with a little less throttle control there, but he's managed to get it going again and is going to carry on. He's lost a little bit of time as a result, and he's actually gone off again at the following few corners down the escape road.
Yeah, there you see him finally getting it moving up and over the crest and then plunging down into the right-hander that leads onto the backstretch. Maybe he's got it under control now. He is off the lead lap, unfortunately, with all that. In fact, he might be off of the 1 lap down group pretty soon, because I just looked back at Bolton, and he's just about the backstretch away from him. This is our leader on screen now, so on Oceanside Way. I can report for fans of Aaron Edwards, he's out and running, but actually, wait a minute. How did he get ahead of Mark Rondeau?
That's actually a very good question. I'm not entirely sure how that's happened.
Rondeau coming pit or something? That's very bizarre.
I know he was sinking a drink just before, so yeah, not quite sure how that's all managed to play out.
Yeah, because if this is the first time for Edwards coming out of pit lane, he can't have overtaken. Okay, our brains are going to get too lost on trying to wrap our heads around the pseudoscience of that one, so we'll try and answer that later. And right now we're down to 3 cars on the lead lap: Bolton, Fulton, and Silva. I see Dylan Campbell has since taken a drink, it looks like, at some point. I wonder if that is number 6 for him. I'll have to try and get in here and see if I can count.
I think you are right, but just get some confirmation. He's done at least 4.
That's number 5 written down. So
yeah.
Silva down pit lane yet again. So the number 28 still hustling to try and see if he can take this one home. Mike Bolton trying to deny him, having to trundle down pit lane at a lowly 39 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour that he has to creep along here before he can finally get on the throttle. And I think he's going to lose the lead lap because Michael Bolton's just coming up now in the background. No, will barely stay on it as we saw Rondeau go by in the red machine. From our leader's perspective. Oh. Fast hands.
Yeah, that was certainly right out sideways, as they say, in more ways than one, that's for sure. It's I do not know how he's managed to hold that, but he's managed to do it in very, very nice fashion.
He's trying his heart out. I think he can, yeah, you can just see Nico Silva up in the distance here and there. There he is, that white speck up, chasing down Marc Rondeau. He knows he's almost a full lap ahead now. He just has to keep pushing all the way to the finish. They're halfway there. 31 seconds as well to... Oh, and BJ Fulton has taken a unique place to have a sip. Now, I want to say that this is allowed. Now, I don't think the iRacing gardeners will appreciate what he's doing to all of their very diligently planted flowers.
Yeah, it's a very, very peculiar position.
But hey, I mean, if you're going to drink, maybe do somewhere pretty. And off screen, we couldn't quite see it, but Marc Rondeau just smashed into the wall beside him. Rondeau able to keep going. Silva has since moved into second place with Fulton sitting stationary there in the fountain section. That means Fulton is now off the lead lap.
Yeah, and he's finding the way now, and maybe he's just started getting it going just behind Campbell now, so he's going to be a little bit down the order, but he's probably going to be in not too bad of a position drinks-wise after that.
Looking through, we are on 4 drinks for Michael Bolton, so still needs 2 more to go. That's probably going to be at least a full lap. So if Silva is actually done with his drive-throughs that he has to do, and it looks like he's not coming in this time by, then Silva still has a good shot at this thing.
He certainly does have a very, very good shot, especially with the pace he's been showing when he's been driving around. He's been doing low 21s, mid to high 21s as well, compared to everybody else who's been doing more or less 22s and 23s and slower and that sort of stuff. So he's certainly got a pace advantage there, although he's going to probably start to struggle on those tyres at some stage as well.
Worth noting that, well, as Bolton having some trouble here with the lap traffic, we talked about this earlier, Marc Rondeau not making life terribly easy for the number 7. Also want to point out that BJ Fulton, the 277, who sits in third, even though he is a lap down, he's got 5 of his drinks done. He only needs 1 more. He's good to go to the end.
Yeah, he certainly is, and there's still plenty of time to get that into him as well. So if he needs to, he can down it right on the last lap. So we'll have to wait and see what he does as to whether he decides to get it into him in a few laps' time, or whether he decides to wait right until that very last moment he can.
You know, I almost feel like that hairpin, or maybe at the fountain, like we saw Fulton doing, is the best way to go. Because if you think about it, you're already slowing up to almost a crawl in these cars. So you're going to lose the least amount of time just, parking it off to the side and then going almost as if nothing had happened.
You got a fair point there, actually, and it is probably one of those things that you may want to think about. I think that's why we've seen so many of them do it there as well, is just because of the slow speed they're having to take. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if anybody decides that's probably the best place to do it, or whether some others decide that somewhere else is better to do it.
Finally able to lap Mark Rondeau as he went down and across. And Rondeau gets another little bit of a slap across the barrier at the fountain section. Let's see, haven't had anybody stop besides Fulton at that fountain in a little bit here. Oh, and in the background, that was Rondeau once again doing a little pirouette, and he's going to take the time to come to a halt, take a few sips. Going to be overtaken here by Dylan Campbell. That was for position. Campbell now up to P4 with that. It's sad to say that I think Aaron Edwards may be DNF'd for the day, because he has not been out of the pits for about 6 minutes. So it appears we're down to 5 finishers.
Yeah, unfortunately, another victim going to be falling victim to the concrete walls, but it looks like Rondeau's now actually done all his drinks, so he's clear to the finish and is going to have plenty of time to get himself sober and get on his way.
He's 3 laps down from the leader, though. He's got a lot of work to do to try and play catch-up from here on out. Our leader's still waiting to try and do that last drink. Nico Silva, who is, let's see, what are his last few laps looking like? 121 flat, 121 flat, 122.5. Pretty consistent there for a bit. Compare that to Michael Bolton, who's actually fared down on pace compared to Nico Silva. It was a 22.7, 24.6, and 22.6 from the number 7 car. Question is that pace advantage and the extra drink going to be enough that Nico Silva can manage to get by?
Yeah, that really is the question on whether he's going to be able to do that or not. It's going to be a matter of waiting and seeing what happens here between those two and who's going to end up coming away with the victory.
Down to 24 minutes left to go. Silva down and across the line. This one at 22.8, so maybe a little bit slower this time. I wonder if those tires getting some heat back in them and starting to lose some of their grip. And Michael Bolton is paused, and I think this is number 5.
Yeah, it'd certainly be on or later on in the list of drinks he needs to consume. So we'll see what he's going to do for this last one here and when he decides to do it as well.
That puts BJ Fulton back on the lead lap. Nico Silva going to gain a lot of time in a bit as we wait for our timing and scoring to play catch up and off into the wall. Bolton starting to struggle a little bit. How much is the tires? How much is the inebriation?
Yeah, certainly is a big head scratch to that when he just brushed the wall there as well before. So certainly is starting to probably struggle with a bit of both, I reckon, with how long he's been going for on those set of tyres and how many drinks he's now got into his system.
I think Silva's just coming down the front stretch, so that should give us an updated time pretty soon here. As he picks up speed, it's coming down to 51 seconds. Another one here in a moment. No, I guess it is just about 51 seconds. Wow. I expected Bolton to lose a lot more than that.
Yeah, certainly did expect him to lose a lot more than that, but it clearly hasn't done in the end. So it's Yeah, very, very fascinating to see that the lap time drop-off is actually starting to play a little bit of a factor with Nico and those tyres being probably well loved at this point.
Bolton crosses the line, 23.5 for him. Last one for Nico Silva was a 22.1. BJ Fulton, what about him? What are his times looking like? 22.4, 22.5, 22.3. Yeah, honestly, wow, Fulton is incredibly consistent himself. There you see him on screen now. The 2.77 is, as I mentioned, on the lead lap, but he's got a minute and 19 seconds to make up, and considering, as we were just saying, it's a minute 22, he's still very close to being overtaken by Bolton once again. 21 minutes left to go now. Our other drivers that we haven't talked about as much, Dylan Campbell, first one a lap down. He's, let's see, where is he in the cards? Actually, he's very close to being 2 laps down. And he just pulled over as, no, I don't think this is for a drink. I think this is, he just missed the corner.
Yeah, it looks like no, he's actually stopping, so it is going to be for a drink by the looks of it. So he's going to get one in. Probably not bad timing either with the fact that he just ran down the escape road. So that's probably going to be him done, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. I think that is his 6th. So does he have the speed to try and start to run things back up to the front? Now that he's complete, there he goes. Out towards IndyCar turn and into the hairpin. It is still at about 51 seconds between Bolton and Silva. Interesting note for Bolton, if he has lost the tires, doesn't seem to be hurting him too bad. He set his fastest lap of the race last time at a 21.6.
That's quite remarkable, I must admit. Well, gets a little bit squeaky on the brakes there on the way into the corner, but that's actually quite remarkable, the fact that he's actually managed to pull that sort of lap time out with their tyres as old as they are, and with how sideways he's gotten there too. But yeah, it's quite fascinating. Although they do say that one beer equals 1/10 of a second.
And the fastest lap of the race, I looked real quick, currently goes to Nico Silva at a 20.7. It's actually only a 10th up on BJ Fulton, so fairly tight between those two for the fastest lap of the race. Doesn't mean much more than a little bit of ego boost for anybody here. Granted, this is all for fun anyways, and bragging rights, as Michael Bolton now starts lap 29. That one a little bit slower than what he ran last time through, 22.9 compared to the 21.6, about 1.3 seconds off of his best lap.
It's a little bit more on par with what majority of the others are doing, especially the likes of BJ Fulton is doing. 22.9s, a little bit slower, but certainly a little bit more on pace, more or less, with everybody else at the moment.
Right now, our Dory Award goes to Mark Rondeau, still 3 laps down from the leader and still circulating. I think he's got at least 1 or 2 more drinks to go. I think it's 1 more drink, as he just bounced off the wall, but was able to continue. That is to be lapped ahead of Michael Bolton that you see. That's BJ Fulton just ahead of him in the Star Wars car. We have a nice shot from above in the chopper. We have not allowed Dougie to drink before this, and so he doesn't try and fly and drink, thankfully.
It's actually quite a nice little chopper camera view that it is, actually, and pulling it quite nicely. I must admit, though, do want to correct you, Rondeau has actually finished all 6 of his beers, so at this stage he's currently one of the only few to have finished them all.
Ah, interesting. So, Doe good to the end, but a lap down. Yeah, lap down from Dylan Campbell, it appears. Even gaining a position would be difficult for him. Silva's chipping away at things. It was down to 49 seconds. Now it's back up to 51, so he must have had a little bit of an error somewhere in there. 122 flat. Wow, Bolton back up with the pace again. Compare that to Silva's 22.3. Silva's actually just coming around to finish another one. Let's see what kind of time he's able to do this time. Watch Bolton on screen. I've got an eye on Nico. That one was a 23.1. So yeah, definitely slower than Nico Silva. Something is not jiving with number 28 here in this current stint.
Oh, that's BJ Fulton up in the fence, airborne.
Oh my goodness.
How has he actually managed that?
Okay, let's get a replay of this. This is, I guess, the... Did he glitch the car on the wall? It almost looks like it just hit the inside weird or something. Let's see if we can get an angle on it. Yeah, I think that's a glitch of some sort that turned the car into the Millennium Falcon. And he's going to take the opportunity to just take a drink from that one.
Yeah, he certainly is. That was probably the best opportunity. Probably the best opportunity anyone in this race has had so far to take a drink, to be honest. But yeah, he's at least got another one in him, and that's I'm pretty sure that is him done, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. Style points for that last one, I suppose. But it puts him a minute 13 behind Nico Silva. A lap down from our leader, Michael Bolton. I think, if let's see, I believe we said that Bolton's on drink number 5, waiting for number 6. Last we said. So he is going to have to give some of this back, most likely. If you're just joining us, again, this is 6 Drink Saturday. The drivers have to drink 6 12-ounce beverages over the course of this 60-minute race, but they cannot do it while the car is moving. They have to come to a halt and take their drink. And it's whoever comes to the finish first.
Yeah, it's going to be...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, has been quite some time since Bolton has taken his last drink, so I'd say he's probably going to run this right to the end and do it as late as he possibly can with the way that it's been going for him.
That would be my guess. Just try and run it out from here on out. Take that last drink close to the line. And we've seen drivers in this series actually wait until the very last corner to finish their drinks and take most of them there. Unfortunately, in one of those cases, it actually cost them the win. They couldn't drink them as quickly as they hoped. The new leader breezed on by and took victory. Oh, and Silva's spun. Silva has spun, so has Fulton. This is going to be costly on time for both of them and their chase to get up to Bolton.
Yeah, it certainly is. And they did that all on their own, and then, yeah, they actually both did it on their own. Neither of them actually came together at all, so that's not gone particularly well for either of them. And they kind of did the same thing in unison as well, just getting slightly too eager on the throttle after clipping that outside wall.
You can see it on the exit. Maybe not the parking structure going to get in our camera's way just slightly, but there's both of them facing reverse on the circuit and having to whip it around and move on. Silva lost about, looks like maybe 7 seconds or so in that exchange as he locks him up down into turn 9. Cooking those tires. He's not going to need them after this race. Just has to try and hustle it to the finish. 13 minutes left to go. And poor Michael Bolton is dealing with traffic yet again with Rondeau. And it's actually caused him to get into the wall. Bolton is also facing backwards on the backstretch. Does not come to a halt to try and get a drink, though.
Yeah, that's actually quite fascinating. I thought he might have actually taken that opportunity to get that last one in him, but he's decided to carry on for a little bit. Maybe he knows that he's got a little bit of pace under him and knows about that mistake that happened with Silva and that, so he's going to try and use the bit of time that he's got under his belt to his advantage, maybe.
Just double-checked, and he does indeed have 5. Yeah, I would have thought that'd be the the right time to just come to a halt, try and take the last drink, and just move along your way. That was Mark Rondeau that he was trying to lap at the time, I believe. To see our leader, Bolton, tiptoe his way past the fountain yet again. Quite a few laps that they put in this hour-long race. We're already on lap 34, at least for Bolton. I think Silva's still not onto that lap. He's actually coming around the final hairpin now.
Yeah, he's actually just come into the pit as Silva as well.
So maybe he had one more to do. I don't know how he can keep track of all these. I feel like I would have lost count of how many I've done at this point.
Yeah, he certainly has done quite a few at this stage. It's at least 7, I think. He's actually just stopping the box.
Okay. Maybe he's taking tires. I wonder if he feels like that's actually going to be enough of an advantage. Yeah, because he's still on the lead lap.
Bolton's in 2.
Ah, so maybe this is fuel. Maybe they are just shy by about 10 minutes to get to the finish.
Yeah, it could very well be possible that they are just shy. We'll find out what's going to happen. Certainly would take tyres at least if you came into the pits now to get that fuel, that's for sure.
It was just under 8 seconds for Nico Silva, so Bolton going to take tires too. What's his pit stop length going to be? It's a little bit longer. It's a fair bit longer. 11, 12. Oh my goodness, he's losing a lot of time now. Well, he starts to go. He's not happy about it though. He stops. What is going on here? Oh, he's taking his drink. That's it for Bolton. That's going to be his final sip. And Silva, I can report, is heading onto the backstretch right now. Himself dealing with the lapper of Mark Rondeau.
This is going to be really, really close, actually, I reckon. Based on where Nico was on a track, it could be in slight advantage of Bolton, but we'll have to see.
Bolton's away. And Silva has been trying to make time during this by being on that fresh rubber. But now it switches back as Rondeau has a little bit of a spin and then backs it into the pit lane. Bolton's just about past the cones. Now he is going Silva down towards the first turn, and it is extremely close, as you can now see them in the same picture. Is he going to be able to get by? He does! Nico Silva is back up to the top spot.
Yeah, very, very good strategy play by Silva to end up pitting when he didn't actually use those new tyres. Oh, that's a wall. They're both in the wall, bouncing off the wall ever so slightly, but they're still going. Both going to be on the same level playing field in terms of tyre. Slightly more in favour of Bolton with that extra lap, but certainly is going to be a very, very close fight, I reckon.
And is Nico Silva done with all of his drive-thrus that he has to do? He's clearly pushing hard, and he just bounces off the wall. That's going to slow his exit. Bolton spies an opportunity. He gets wheel to wheel, has the nose ahead and the inside coming down into turn 9, but stronger on the brakes, maybe too strong on the brakes as Nico Silva comes back at him. He's going to hold on to it just barely, still staying side by side. You guys are not going to be able to make it through this hairpin wheel to wheel, and indeed, they finally go single file.
Oh, and very, very crossed up on the exit as well was Silva, and that's going to allow Bolton to get a little bit of a run as a result down the front straight. Use a bit of that draft as well. Not quite going to be close enough at this stage, although if he is brave enough, he's going to be at least to give it a red hot go at sending it up the inside, but I doubt it's going to happen.
Yeah, just a little bit too far back, it appears, but continuing to apply the pressure. He's only 3/10 back. In fact, you can see it's less than a car length between the pair of them. Coming off of the fountain, strong for Nico Silva. And strong once again out of turn 4 as he got his feet under him now. It looks like it. He's starting to stretch.
Yeah, certainly is starting to stretch that lead out ever so slightly that time by a little bit of an inside locking there from Nico and a little bit of a struggle from Bolton to get the power down as well on the exit, but they're certainly not making each other work for it, that's for sure. They're not giving any sort of room, and Bolton getting very crossed up again on the exit.
And this is all happening on the same lap as BJ Fulton, we should point out, albeit roughly half a lap down. BJ 53 seconds behind, continuing to hound the number 28, the 7 of Michael Bolton. Almost gets into the rear bumper as they both have to accordion together through the hairpin. 7 minutes to go. The laps are ticking down. Can Silva hold him off for that amount of time?
Yeah, it's going to really be quite a challenge for Silva to hold him off for as long as he can in those last 7 minutes. It's really very, very close, and anyone's guess as to who's going to come away with this big curve hop by Bolton, getting a little bit crossed up as a result, but he's managed to keep it on going straight, and that's running deep in the hairpin section for Silva as well, and that's going to close that gap right back up.
Oh, mistakes back and forth between the pair of them as Bolton now smacks the outside wall through turn 4. He loses it a couple of tenths, but does push forward. Do they have any lap traffic in front of them? No, they do not. So this is a straight fight, essentially, from here. As they get ready to come onto Oceanside Way. As they accelerate off of the right-hander down towards turn 9. That was a magnificent run for Silva. He stretches it out to 8 tenths, nearly a second.
You can just see Bolton struggling ever so slightly with getting the car rotated and also just getting the power down a little bit more compared to the likes of Silva, and that's going to be a very crossed up moment there for Bolton, who just got the inside wall and that got the rear loose as a result, so that's a massive amount of time lost.
It's up to 1.8 seconds between them. He's going to be kicking himself for that. How flustered is the number 7 from that mistake? Can he refocus and start to run him back down? Silva's not without his own bit of errors here and there, so this could definitely swing back into the hands of the number 7 before all is said and done. Hanging that tail out, taking a lot of inside curve, but I do believe that is legal. They can get pretty far over if you dare, and if you've got the suspension that can handle those huge bumps. Out of turn 7, onto the back stretch, and Silva just barely holding on to it.
He's doing enough at the moment, at least, to hold on to this race. Leave Bolton behind, really struggling to try and match the pace of Silva, who's just starting to pull away constantly compared to Bolton. So I'd say it's probably at this stage at least Silva's race to lose, but who knows what's going to happen in these last few minutes.
It's up to 2.7 seconds. This is the biggest the gap has been since this final stop from Silva. I think, let's see, 4:19 to go, so we're down to about 3 laps left, I believe. Pushing very, very hard right up to the edge. Silva locking the insides up on the way into turn 1 and still somehow manages to make the corner.
Yeah, certainly pushing very, very hard at the moment to try and build that gap even more, so that if he does make a mistake, he's not going to have to worry too much about trying to recover. And it looks like Fulton's actually ended up through putting, so unfortunately he's going to lose that 4th place and a chance at the podium.
He was in 3rd, yeah, and Dylan Campbell now gets promoted. So 3 for the number 3, which we should point out that Campbell, hailing from Club Australia New Zealand, in fact, the only driver here that is not from either California or Club West.
There you go. There's actually others deciding to run. I don't actually think I've ever seen Dylan running around in sort of races, but it's at least good to see another Aussie compatriot out there.
And he's going to get a podium for his troubles. Up to 3 seconds. Silva now turning up the wick. He's got the thing under him. and Bolton is unable to respond to his pace. Last time through for Bolton was a 21.8 compared to Silva's 21.5, 0.3 of a second faster. We were just under 3 minutes when they went through, so maybe it is still 3 more laps here.
Could possibly. I want to say it's going to be 2 more, but it's going to be very, very close at least.
Be tight. Let's ride on board with the 28 as he tries to wheel this thing. Thankfully, mercifully on some fresher rubber and some stickier tires after spending almost 50 minutes on the same set. Flies down the backstretch, picking up speed 135, 140 miles an hour before finally getting on the brakes. Long braking distances in these cars. And again, we're looking at a minute 20 lap times. He's at 150. I think he's going to be able to get through with 2 to go here. He's going to come upon some lap traffic. That smoke is from Rondeau, who you see ahead, who just spun. Oh, but did he make a mistake? Silva's being caught.
He lost 2 seconds that last time by, so I'm not quite sure where he's managed to make that mistake, but it was clearly big enough.
22.3 is Rondeau's going to pull off to the side. I don't know if that was intentional. I wonder if he's close on fuel. Did he not refuel it enough?
It could be possible based on the time that Bolton spent in his box compared to Silva. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens, though. And if it is close on fuel, it's going to be very much a race to the finish here.
So far, he's still got that desired track position. Silva still holding control over Michael Bolton, who is poking and prodding, seeing if he can get by. Maybe, since it is somewhat close, maybe Silva did not anticipate this 1 extra lap. Maybe he goofed and thought that it was only going to be a 41-lap race here today as they come out of 9. Now, swinging it into the hairpin. This is going to be a very tough ask with Bolton right up his tailpipe. 20 seconds to go. They take the white flag just 1 more time around. Can Nico Silva do it?
And does he have enough fuel to get home? That is the question. If it's close, it's going to be close, but he certainly needs to try and save the fuel if he can. It doesn't sound like he is saving fuel, but who knows what's going to happen in these few corners.
Bolton into the wall. Just smacked it. That'll give a little bit of a buffer to Silva. That's exactly what he needs right now. And yeah, you're right. He is hustling. So if he did have to save, maybe that was just the amount that he needed. And he was ever so tight as the pair of them slide it out of the corners. Now you see the final lap graphic on your screen now, coming onto Pine Avenue for the final time of this 60-minute race. Nico Silva has finished all of his scheduled drive-throughs that he has to do with him being marked as a designated driver here today. Bolton is done with his drinks, but he's got to make up 1.2 seconds in this final lap, in this final half a lap. Silva's still locking them up in every corner, pushing as hard as he can to make sure that he gets to the finish first. They come up to the hairpin. This will be decisive if he has enough or not. Getting all the way down to first gear. And spinning goes Bolton. So that hands it to Nico Silva as your winner here today for Six Drink Saturday.
He nearly had it to Bolton in the end, but unfortunately that mistake out of the hairpin just cost him so dearly.
Bolton with second, and he was 8 seconds shy at the end because of that spin. As Dylan Campbell, a lap down, is going to retain third place. Rondeau promoted up to fourth because of BJ Fulton's issues as they all finish across the line. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back after this with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Long Beach. Our six-drink Saturday was a stunner to the end. The final lap decided it all, with Bolton unfortunately spinning out as Nico Silva took the victory as a designated driver today. But Bolton finished with all six drinks in him and second, about 8 seconds back, and Dylan Campbell rounded out the podium in the third. Mark Rondeau with the fourth was our last finisher. BJ Fulton, the DNF, Aaron Edwards, the DNF, and Matthew Hollander, a DNS today, unfortunately. So first up, we've got our winner, Nico Silva, who had to have really been sweating bullets there at the end, because Nico, you find yourself taking your fuel stop and some finally fresh tires, and then as you come around the first time, there's Bolton right there.
Yes, it's actually we it sounded like we all stayed out on the same tires, so that fuel stop was perfectly timed. I had maybe 2 liters left there at to finish at the checkered flag, so it was perfect strategizing when it came to the stop to the splash and go.
We did notice that it looked like you lost a little time on the penultimate lap. Did you have to save some fuel? Because we couldn't figure out how you lost about 3 seconds.
I just started to kind of wind down my pace, make sure I didn't make any mistakes. I did make a couple of mistakes because these cars get really squirrely when on on our old tires. So, but yeah, no, I was just bringing down the pace and making sure that I didn't, put it into the wall. Thank God that there was no damage, because if I did, I might have had to use maybe a fast repair or two during the race.
Now, we lost count. How many drive-throughs did they make you do this time?
6. Since they had to do 6 beers, I had to do 6 drive-throughs.
It just seemed like a loss. We started to lose count up here in the booth, and this was an impressive job, a real stunning race in what are difficult cars. So big congratulations. Is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Matt Hollander, Nielsen Lawrence, and the guys who put together the Porsche Owners Club and the 4 Drink Fridays and putting up this 6 Drink Saturday. And Michael Bolton, Dylan Campbell, BJ Fulton, and Mark Rondeau, and I think it was, I can't remember the last driver, but everyone for coming out for the race. I think Matt Hollander was supposed to race, but and something happened and he wasn't able to take the start. But it was fun to race with them, and I know I had a blast with these cars and driving the brand new Long Beach, so it was fun.
Awesome stuff. Well, again, congratulations. And that was Cameron Dance, who finished, or excuse me, that no, that was Nico Silva who took the victory today. I swear I haven't been drinking tonight. We do have Cameron Dance coming up next with Dylan Campbell hailing from down under along with him.
Yeah, Dylan, you did all right across the entire race, and you brought the green-eyed monster home on the podium. It looked like it was quite a challenge out there, but you brought it home on the podium regardless.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Yeah, it was good to be a part of this. I don't think I've quite adapted to the laying out of beers and preparation that was needed. I was just here, sitting here drinking cold beers straight out of the cooler, getting all frothy and cold and that. So I think a little more prep. I think you'll see me closer to the top step, I reckon.
Yeah, there's certainly a little bit of strategy and a little bit of planning that goes on between a lot of these drivers on how they get their beers into them. There was obviously some strategy, and some did it later, some did it earlier. Was it the whole idea for you just to get it all out of the way early, or did you try to space them out a little bit more?
Yeah, I just tried to just do as many as I could as soon as I could, when I was feeling it. So I didn't want to be trying to finish beers late in the race, but I don't know, at the same time, you sort of counteract that. You shoot yourself in the foot because then you're driving more of the race intoxicated. So, and it definitely showed with everyone sort of hitting the walls, especially me. So, yeah, did all right. So definitely send me back here next time.
Well, good to hear you're going to be back next time. Well, before we let you go, just any thanks and any shouts you want to give?
Yeah, just want to give a shout out to the boys who invited us here. Cheers for giving us a go. And thanks to the Global Sim Racing for hosting this thing. Cheers, guys.
Well, there you have it, Joe. Dylan Campbell summing up his race, and I believe you're standing by with Mr. Bolton.
Yes, Michael Bolton, who came up just shy at the end. Michael, I'll ask the reverse of what I did on Nico. You came out from that last stop. You've had all your beers, and suddenly he's right there next to you. What's going through your mind at that moment?
Man, how cool was that? I gotta give it up to Nico, man. I mean, he's not drinking, which is a little bit of a advantage to us. But coming out of pit lane after getting on this little splash of fuel, and us being, obviously it wasn't a huge turnout tonight, but being so close at the very end, obviously, don't we all love that?
Which did you consider more difficult out here, managing the tires on these cars or managing the alcohol in your body?
It's a great question. I think in the beginning, obviously, we're trying to, focus on the racecraft, focusing on the tire wear and, trying to stretch the life of the tires as far as we possibly can. But then as you start having a couple drinks, you're like, okay, it's not as easy to be smooth. It's not as easy to keep the tires from lighting up when you're exiting the corners. So I think that was a huge challenge. And we've never done 6-drink Saturday. It's always been 4-drink Friday. So adding those other two really, I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, but my 6th drink was so slow. None of us took tires. Was able to get through, just a little splash of fuel. But man, didn't iRacing do a great job building us this beautiful Long Beach track? I got to give it up to iRacing, man. This thing is super beautiful and so much fun.
I am excited about how beautiful it is. I've had to take some shots for video stuff here on GSRC, and I just could zoom around for hours exploring this place for sure. Now, of course, is one that I tend to like to ask on here is what would you like to see next for Drink Friday, which I believe we are probably going to be going back to Friday for the next one.
Oh, let's see. There was a couple I saw on YouTube. There was an iRacing kind of teaser promo for some of the new dirt racing tracks and stuff. I would love to go. I think it was Charlotte. What's it called?
The Rallycross course?
Rallycross. I would love to do Charlotte Rallycross. I don't think we've done that yet here. I think that would be a very good track to go to next.
That would be a ton of fun to watch. I would love to see this group try and tackle that and see what car you attempt to do it in. Well, again, congratulations on a podium here today, and can't wait to see you back in the Porsches as well soon.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you to the boys. Appreciate.
That was Michael Bolton, second place finisher, which is going to take us to the end of our broadcast. And of course, we want to thank our sponsors before we go, starting off with Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And of course, Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. Thanks goes out to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. We've got her Bandcamp listed there as well. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Cam, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com or check out our social media outlets, which includes Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Gram. If you'd like to support us, make sure and check out the link in the description below. It's just simply gsrc.storenvy.com to get to our merchandise store. But while you're there, make sure and subscribe to GSRC so that you don't miss a moment here at all. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.